At 9:04 a.m. on December 6, 1917, the city of Halifax, Nova Scotia was going about an ordinary winter morning. Dock workers were unloading cargo, families were preparing breakfast. Then, in less than a second, the city experienced an explosion so powerful that people hundreds of miles away thought the world was ending. A shockwave flattened entire neighborhoods. A firestorm consumed the harbor, and a tsunami ripped through the shoreline. To this day, it remains the largest man-made explosion in human history before nuclear weapons. And the single most disturbing part? It was not an attack. It was not sabotage. It was not intentional. It was an accident caused by routine decisions, small delays, and one ship that never should have been there. This is the story of the Halifax Explosion and how a single moment erased a city. To understand how this happened, you have to understand Halifax in 1917. The world was deep into World War I. Europe was bleeding, and Halifax had become one of the most important ports in North America. Every day, massive convoys of ships gathered in the harbor, waiting just across the Atlantic, carrying troops, weapons, fuel, and explosives to the front lines. Security was tight. Tension was high. The harbor was crowded. But here's the problem. Halifax Harbor is narrow. Ships entering and leaving had to pass each other in tight channels, often with little room to maneuver. Traffic rules existed, but enforcement was inconsistent at best. And on the morning of December 6th, two ships were about to meet in the worst possible way. The first ship was known as the SS Mont Blanc. On the outside, it looked like an ordinary ship, but on the inside, it was a floating bomb. The Mont Blanc was carrying 2,300 tons of picric acid, 200 tons of TNT, 10 tons of gun cotton, and 35 tons of highly flammable benzol. This was one of the most dangerous cargo loads ever assembled on a single ship. What were they thinking? Because of the risk, the Mont Blanc flew no warning flags identifying its explosives, standard wartime protocol to avoid enemy detection. The second ship was the SS Emo, a Norwegian relief vessel carrying supplies for Belgium. The Emo was delayed, impatient, and leaving the harbor faster than regulations allowed. As the two ships approached each other in the narrow channel, a series of small navigational mistakes began stacking up. Each captain assumed the other would yield. Each waited too long to correct course. Neither fully understood what the other was carrying. And at 8:45 a.m., the ships collided. The impact itself was minor, but sparks flew, and benzol barrels aboard the Mont Blanc ruptured. Within seconds, fire spread across the deck of the Mont Blanc. Black smoke rose into the sky. Dock workers froze. Spectators were gathered along the shore. No one understood what they were looking at. And even worse, firefighters rushed toward the burning ship because no one had been warned. The Mont Blanc drifted, burning, straight towards Pier 6, one of the busiest areas of the city. For 20 full minutes, the city watched a ticking time bomb float closer. Then at 9:04 a.m., the Mont Blanc detonated. The explosion was immediate and absolute. The Mont Blanc vaporized. A blast wave traveling over 1,000 meters per second tore through Halifax. Buildings were collapsing instantly. Steel bent like paper. Glass was shattered miles away. The explosion released the equivalent energy of nearly 3 kilotons of TNT. For comparison, Hiroshima, 15 kilotons. Halifax, the largest man-made blast ever at the time. A fireball rose thousands of feet into the air. The harbor floor was exposed as water was displaced outward, followed by a tsunami that slammed back into the city. Entire neighborhoods ceased to exist. People were blinded by flying glass, others buried alive in rubble. Children were killed instantly in classrooms. In seconds, Halifax was transformed to a disaster zone. The destruction was total. Nearly 2,000 people were dead, over 9,000 injured, and 25,000 left homeless. Fires raged unchecked, hospitals overflowed, doctors operated without anesthesia. Survivors wandered through smoke and debris in shock. Halifax became a house of horrors. As night fell, a massive blizzard rolled in, freezing the wounded and complicated rescue efforts. I mean, seriously, I'm trying to read this script. How could it get worse? Help then arrived from across Canada and the United States, which is pretty good. I mean, they did what they could, I guess. Boston sent doctors, supplies, and relief teams within hours, beginning a bond between the two cities that actually still exists today. So that's pretty cool. But Halifax, of course, would never be the same. The city had been reshaped by a single accidental moment. The Halifax Explosion isn't just a historical tragedy. It's a warning. It shows how systems can fail quietly. Small decisions can compound. Danger hides behind routine, and catastrophe doesn't always announce itself. Keep in mind, once again, there was no villain in this story, no enemy, no warning siren even. This was just pure human error, timing, and an unimaginable force. Today, nuclear weapons dominate discussions of destruction. But long before the atomic age, Halifax proved something terrifying. You don't need intent to erase a city. You just need momentum. And sometimes, history's loudest disasters begin in silence.